Hello, Leo, and welcome back to Marion K Tarot. This will be a reading for April 2025. Leo, how is it? How is it April? Tell me, how is it April already? So I hope you're well. I hope Aries season is treating you well. Um, we are going to be we're going to be pulling a card from the Sacred Connection decks, and it's going to be the Love deck. It's because I've been feeling a bit Venusian, and this is what called to me. We're also going to be using the Crow Tarot as well, okay? So that's going to be for the main reading. I've got a slightly different setup this month. It's probably best not to ask why. Okay. So let's see. Let's get into the reading proper. So what have you been up to? Let me know in the comments. How's your hair? I always like to ask Leos how their hair is. Right, let's see. Okay. So this message. Ooh. Oh, Leo. Okay, so have you ever broken someone's heart? Ooh. Your hair's probably broke people's hearts, Leo, let's be honest. Right. That's a deep question, isn't it? Okay, so could it be that you've broken your own heart? Because Leo, you're a very giving sign, you know. You're I always say Leo is one of the givers because you've got a very tender heart. You've got a very caring heart, you know. It's like even though Leo is like the sign of the lion, you know, a lot of the time the energy of Leo comes across as that gentle, quiet power. You know, yes, you can be ferocious like the lion and, you know, the male lion, but it's almost like, you know, you've got that gentle femininity of the lioness who's more fierce than the male lion, let's be honest. But you know, that always comes across to me. So and I think at some point, you know, we've all inadvertently broke someone's heart, you know. Um I don't I mean I truly believe that we don't, as humans, we don't set out normally to with the intention of, oh, I'm going to break their heart. You know, that is the you know the kind of norm for humans, and it's horrible. You know, it's horrible. I've been in that situation, you know, where we're in order to be happy in our own lives, we know that we have to bring unhappiness to somebody else's life, you know, whether that's ending a relationship or walking away from a relationship, you know. And that's the thing. There's a couple of phrases that I use a lot in my personal readings, and it's I love you, but I love me more. You know, and that's something that really resonated with me, you know, when I came to that. I remember a situation where I had to say that to somebody, and you know, it was very much that kind of Eight of Cups energy where I had to walk away from something because in order to pursue what I wanted to do, you know, I had to leave somebody behind essentially. Um, you know, so it's no always this kind of a, oh, I've decided I don't like you anymore and so I'm going to leave, so I'm going to break your heart. No, there's so many intricacies and differences and just just things in general where it's not just always black and white is what I'm trying to say, you know, just like this reading cloth of shades of grey. So let's see your cards. I have some cards please for Leo for April 2025, please. Okay. We have got the Nine of Wands, the High Priestess, and we have got the Six of Swords. Right, interesting. At the bottom of the deck, we have got the Four of Wands. Lovely energy. This is Venus and Aries, which has pretty much been happening most of last month, but it's now Venus has then went back, retrograded back into Pisces as I'm recording this. So opening gambit. I think it's really important to note that the oracle card, this message card, it feels very on point considering the cards that have came out, Leo. The Nine of Wands is like this struggle, it's a card of Sagittarius, so it's like your sister sign. Are you dealing with a Sagittarius? Is there something that's going on? Is there something that's just become like very, very wearisome, right? That's the energy that's coming through. There's something that's quite wearisome, and it's tiring. There's just this feeling of there's a feeling of mental exhaustion, Leo. That's what's coming through, and it's like knowing that it right, okay, so here's we'll go deeper into this, right? But my opening thing, it's like my just looking at these cards, right? What it feels like is that things are exhausting. And when you're listening to your intuition, you know that you need to detach from something mentally and move away from it. Okay? Now whether that's physically moving away, I don't know. If it's intellectually, that's what it feels like. It feels like there is an intellectual chasm. And it feels like whether this is somebody you're in a romantic relationship with or someone who you know, a friend, somebody, but there's somebody in your life, Leo, at least for a lot of you, and there is a great deal of love between you. I can feel that there is a great deal of love between you. But if you're being truly honest with yourself, Leo, there's this chasm of intellect between you. And it's getting to the point where it's detrimental to your mental health. It's detrimental to you living in happiness and harmony. That's what it feels like, Leo. I mean, obviously, this is a general reading, right? So please just take it as a general reading. I'm not saying that every single Leo who is involved in a relationship, then their partner is not intellectually stimulating them, right? That is not the case. But it feels like you are doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to substance within the relationship. Intuitively, I think you know this, Leo. I think you've known this for quite some time. And whether it has been whether it will be the ingress into Aries, your sister sign, that really kind of highlights this. I mean, remember, it's like Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. It's also a case of understanding where your intuition comes from. Okay, Neptune is very, very, it's the psychic realm, it's the intuition, it's where the high priestess is happy. Okay, the high priestess to come out right center in these cards, it feels very auspicious. It feels like it's a message for your divine feminine side. Now that's regardless of gender, etc. It's the divine feminine energies, and they're coming forward towards you, Leo. And she's basically saying, is this working? Because what's interesting with this particular depiction of the high priestess, the four tools of the tarot are on this card, just like the magician. Okay, so it's like, plus we've got the crescent moon there. So that's that's looking towards um the feminine nature of this card. What strikes me and what is striking me is, and I don't even know if this is a thing, right? But this here, this white here, right? It reminds me of a veil, right? Now obviously the veil that the high priestess guards, protects. We have got that. But what it feels like is there's this kind of a like marital veil, the fact the coloration of it makes me feel like that. And maybe, there is came a point in this, but particularly this Four of Wands as well, this lovely celebration energy here. It feels very much like you're coming up to a point where there has maybe been a proposal or there is going to be a proposal. It doesn't necessarily mean it is a marriage proposal, Leo. Okay? I am not saying that, although for some of you it could be. But this proposal has really brought into stark contrast just how different you and this particular person, whomever it may be in your life, is. And it's this chasm, I cannot get this out of my head, where this chasm and divide between you, and it's intellectually. I think physically and emotionally you're very much on point, but it's this like it's almost like there's this missing link between you where it's just you thought that you could handle it, Leo. Okay, that's essentially what I'm feeling. It's like you thought you could handle it because you really, really like you basically really fancy them, and they're such a good person. But at the same time, it's like I don't know how much longer I can do this. You need some other form of intellectual stimulation, some other form of conversation to be brought into your life, to be in your life, and it's just like because the thing is, right, as much as we think that we can find everything complementary in the one person, right, it's basically impossible, for us to have all our needs met by one person, and I think it's unfair, as a society in general, where we've been conditioned to feel like, oh, well, you meet one person and that's it. They fulfill all your needs and you fulfill all their needs, It's it's not the best. And that might be something that's difficult to come to terms with. When you make that realization, when you join the dots, it feels very much like, oh, right, well, but that's where we can have like different relationships, and it doesn't need to be like a sexual relationship. It can be a friendship. We get intellectual conversation for somewhere else in my life. Another person in my life, other people. Groups of people. That's why friendships are so important. And the connection of other people. So I mean, I don't think all is lost, Leo. Certainly, what I think is it's it's very much that rekindling of the parts within you and the parts within your person that you are really good at. You're really you're really complementary with, right? You work really well together, and then the parts that you don't, you find other people to have that conversation with. The deep conversations, or just there's something so wonderfully delightful about meeting people in your life who have got a similar level of intellect, and it's and where it's like where we're in conversations and you're in conversations with people and you don't need to explain every second word. It's like you say a sentence to somebody, or you begin a conversation, you're halfway through a conversation, and you don't have somebody turn around and saying, oh, what do you mean? What does that mean? And if you're used to that, then it can get extremely tedious. But when you look into things and you find somebody, you find people where it's completely normal to speak the language that you speak, it is a wondrous, wondrous thing, Leo. And I think this month in April, you're coming to that realization. Maybe watching this video is helping you come to that realization. You've maybe thought to yourself, oh, well, you've been panicking because it's like, well, this person I'm with or this group of people that I hang around with, they don't like fulfill that part of me, but and you've maybe thought that you've had to walk away from it, or you've had to distance yourself from the individual or individuals, and it's made you really quite sad, but trust your intuition, follow your intuition, and the right people will appear that will be able to fulfill those needs that you've got. Okay, Leo, so I hope that makes sense. Have a lovely April. Enjoy yourself, whatever you're up to, and I will see you in the next one, okay? Bye bye.